Stay with the music for a few moments. So, how do you feel right now? Relaxed. Good. That was pentatonic. That music was from Let me see if we. Ooh, instant. This is better than lifts. I like this. This is nice. Wow. That was the pentatonic scale, 5 octaves, which is the rhythm of our body. Most of our life is not like that. Most of our life is out of control. In fact, this is more like your life. We'll be showing you in a minute. Wagner said, the famous 19th century writer, composer, opera composer said, that when words no longer can do, that's when music takes over. What we're going to do, we're going to spend about an hour really on a little journey about looking at something developed from a process called appreciative inquiry, looking at the positive of things. And we'll talk a little bit about that and how the positive can generate all kinds of ideas and experiences for ourselves. This, though, is more like your life. So, when we're talking about person-centered emergency care, what we're going to be spending the next hour about is how do we take care of ourselves? Because no matter what you do, you have all the vendors, very important, but it all starts here. You know, as William Butler Yeats once wrote, the journey internally is not an important journey, it's the only journey. And that's a key point of how do we take care of ourselves. Now, some of you have known, and I really appreciate being invited here a couple of times. It's really great. And I want to start off by saying thank you for what you do. I don't think there's an individual in this community or probably in the country that hasn't been touched by the work that you do. I was thinking about it the other day, and I remember when my mom passed away. I got a call from my father at the house. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. He said, I can't wake your mother up. He said, come on up right away. So I drove up there, and by the time I got there, the ambulance was there, and 2 of your colleagues was there. And one of them was a student I knew from Broome, or I had seen at Broome. So they were taking my mother out, and I said to the woman, I said, you know, she's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. And all she did was look at me and say, you probably need to be with your dad right now. That's powerful. The work you do, and I really sincerely appreciate it, because it touches all of us. And so really what our next hour is about is how can I give you something back? About how do we take care of ourselves, you know? Because when we're helpers, we're workers, it's always about doing. It's always about doing. I mean, you're here at 8 o'clock in the morning. Usually this is the middle of the night, you know, come on, this is, you know. But, you know, you're always there, and that's important. But you have to step back periodically and say, what is there about myself? Because when you look at the data, there was a study in 2010, which is kind of intriguing. 2010, first major look at the health of emergency personnel. 2010, only 8 years ago, major research. found that it's not that great. High blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, low activity level. I know you run around, but it's sustained. Because we're doing other things, we're thinking about other folks. We probably don't have the time to do it. And so, as you know, I always like to start off with this poem by John Shar about the future, because we can't control what's happened up until this time. It's set. So many times we keep our minds back there, but that's not where they need to be. They need to be up here. So the future is not a place, or not a result of alternative choices among alternative paths but the present, but a place that's created. And this is the key. It's created first in our minds, then in our will, and then in activity. You know, a lot of times when we talk about change, people say, well, what do I have to do? Tell me what I need to do. Give me the formula. I was reading an article this morning, looking over some stuff, and they were saying about the number of diets. We all know what we need to do. We know that. We're all experts in that field. But it's the first thing. It's in our minds. What do we believe we have the right to do? What do we have? Do we have the right for good health, for mental health, for physical health, for spiritual health? That's the key. And then the will, the energy to make it happen. You know, because there are those days, I know myself, who wants to do this? You know, who wants to do that? But you get up and you do it. I imagine sometimes you get a call to the hospital, you get a call someplace, and you're probably thinking, why didn't I do something else in my life? You know, what's this all about? But you do it. It's that passion, because you know that's who you are. It kind of defines the reason why you're here. We're all here for a reason. Life is about trying to find that reason and moving in that direction. Then he goes on to say that the future is not a place we're going to, but one that we create. You and I create our lives. Things happen to us. Of course, they always do. Things may be going on right now we don't even realize. But we have an enormous energy, an enormous impact to creating that future. And in that, the paths are not to be found but made. And the activity of making them changes both the maker and the destination. We control. We're in as much control as we can have. There's so little control in life. In fact, sometimes letting go of things allows us then to move forward. Have you ever held on to something so much that you lose it? Or maybe you never even had it. But when you let go, you can grab it. And that's really what we're looking at. We have a candle. We can't, as you know, we can't have real candles, so we have electric candles. I love the world. The world's great. So we have a candle, and I always like to have that because it's symbolic. Candles illuminate the future. Candles, can give us warmth, sort of like what our life is about. But if we don't watch the candle, it can burn out of control. It can hurt us. It can overwhelm us. And so that's what the balance is all about. Having the illumination of creating our future, but not being burned out by the past or the things that we do. So here's a little bit about patient-centered view of life. And I know the first one is a little controversial. The people are basically good. People do bad things. All you have to do is look at the paper. Shootings in our schools, in our hospitals, in our churches, in inner city schools forever. This is not new. But basically, it's because of things that have happened, things that have gone on. So we basically do have, the people are trustworthy and positive, and we have to believe that. Because once we start judging, then we kind of get in trouble sometime. Capable of making changes and living productive lives. Look at all of us dedicated to this. Workers, students, all kinds of individuals here. Also, this view of life is that we move towards this self-actualizing tendency. You leave a child. We have a new 4.5-month-old granddaughter. And I just love watching her because she moves towards taking care of herself. How do I know that? Soon as she gets hungry, woo, you could hear her from Great Neck to here, And then when she has to take care of herself, she just kind of does it. No one has to tell her. And we have that human tendency, if you think about that as individuals. And then the last is that, really, we can have creative lives. We can do all kinds of things. We can change. We can make things happen. But one of the important things is our environment. And your environment is interesting, reading about it. I'm not part of that environment, but part of the environment is all the things that go on around your life. So today I'm going to be asking you to think about those things. And what are those things that invigorate you? What are those things that help you move in the positive area where you need to be? And what are those things in your life that maybe it's time to question and to let go? To say, you know what, it served me at one time, but it doesn't serve me any longer. It's important. You know, you think about our atmosphere, just like the music. That music, I love to play it sometime when I'm going to the college. Being in the position I've been in the last few years, sometimes it gets a little more tense than other days. And I certainly don't want to show up tense to meet a tense situation. Because when we relax, when we're in a positive, well, let me ask you, how many of you prefer to feel positive about something rather than negative? Anyone? How many of you like positive? Yeah. I mean, of course. And that doesn't mean, click your shoes and the world will, look at you nicely. I'm talking about the possibilities of life. The possibilities of life. I remember after 9/11, there was a father, remember a plane took off and it crashed and stuff, and he lost 2 children within 2 months. And he was on TV. And, they do those interviews that just drive me nuts. But this interview was amazing. He said, I still got more to do in life. Because they said, don't you want to give up? He goes, no, I got 2 more kids. I've got more to do in life. In fact, in honoring my children, I need to move forward. That's what I'm talking about, being positive. Positive comes from the word possibilities. It's not just smile and the world smiles at you. Sometimes the world does not smile back. But that can't stop us. So we create our environment. Nourish yourself, emotion. That's what today is about. You're going to have all these speakers. Reading all these speakers and knowledgeable individuals, and you see each other. And you probably, as Bill mentioned, you see people that you usually see in very tense situations. Now you can see them other times. Massage. How many of you are going to get a massage? 2? Oh, I'm staying here all day. I know one of the masseuses, and last time I was here, gave me a massage. It was great. Nurture yourself. Hold your beliefs lightly. Boy, if this is one thing we got to do today. Because sometimes we get so ingrained in our beliefs, and we need to know our beliefs, we can't see anyone else's. In fact, we live in a time that if you disagree with me, you're wrong and I'm right. How can that be? We can never move from that. That's a stalemate. We have to move beyond. Because sometimes people will say, well, I can't get in touch with positive things. Because if I do, because once you get in touch with positive things, you want more out of your life. Sometimes it can be difficult. Listen to people, stay open, look for what's working and what is possible. I'm always amazed in organizations, I work a lot with organizations, that people will always think about, root cause analysis. What's the bad thing that's going on? How about what's going on well? And build on that. That's an important thing to do. It doesn't mean you don't look at the negative, but you use the positive to overcome the negative. You don't use negative to overcome the positive. Think about that. And in a few minutes, I'll be asking you for yourself, what is it that you want? What's your focus for the future? And the future is from this moment on, always where we have impact, not from the past. And ask positive and inspiring questions. If I walk up to you and say, oh man, I imagine it's been, you do that work, it's got to be a rough day. We're going to start going on a trajectory down, down, down. But you ask someone, it's like when little kids come home, what'd you do today? Nothing. You ask them, what? Now, if you ask the question, be ready for the answer, What was the most inspiring thing that happened today? Someone stole my sandwich, or, whatever, But now you hear about life, the inspiration of life, not the negativity. I love it. The other day I was on campus, we've had all these storms and stuff, so I'm walking across campus. It was one of those days that we had like 35-degree weather, 40-degree weather for like 15 minutes, whatever, Walking across campus, and I saw someone, and I said, wow, this is beautiful. Oh, there's another storm coming up next week. I was like, oh, come on. If all we got to do is think about the storms, let it go. Now, I know they impact all of us, but guess what, folks? I'm going to let you in on a secret. We live in the Northeast. If it stops snowing, then I'm going to worry. Remember a couple years ago we didn't have any snow, then we had a drought. I mean, you can't have it. And I love weathermen. The only time they're not happy is when it's sun shining. You know, it's like, and remember, there's too much sun out there, you better get inside because you might get burned. You know, it's like, that doesn't, you know, that's not a positive generative kind of thing. So, think about, this is the first thing I want you to do. I want you to define something for the future. And I'm going to ask you in the next hour or so to share with other people here. Not for everyone, but just someone next to you maybe. Share it with yourself. Define for yourself. In other words, choose the positive as the focus of inquiry. In a few minutes, I'm going to ask you for something you want for yourself. Something you want to create down the road. Think of something positive. Questions that you ask are fateful. If you ask questions, you then have to listen. Sometimes we speak, but we don't listen. Listening is different than hearing. I have a hearing loss. I wear hearing aids. Doesn't excuse me from not listening. And sometimes I don't listen because my own stuff gets in the way. But that's when I need to step back and say, wait a minute, I'm not hearing, I'm not listening. Hearing is auditory, listening is a process. And it allows us to have our values, as I said, but have those values lightly, which means then I can let others in. And then ask questions that bring about change for human systems. And when we ask for this sometimes, we have to think about how we can make change, like mentors. How many of you have had mentors in your life? Yeah. How many of you have been a mentor? And sometimes you don't even know you're a mentor. You know, you'll meet someone and say, you know, you've really been a mentor to me. You know, you watch the people who've been around you, and you see those people. In fact, Dr. O'Hara, I remember I worked with SMA for a few years. When I first started off, I was a psychotherapist for 30 years, and I rented a little spot, and I got to meet these gentlemen, Dr. Aswad and Dr. Spring and all of them, and they really kind of helped me, and I don't think they would even have remembered me. I was just some little social worker, you know, renting space. But I watched these men of integrity and said, this is the way a profession is supposed to be. It's about giving out rather than taking in. So let's look at this little clip here.
Top golfers always tried to get a leg up in the competition by having the men they trusted most sneak onto the course at night and do their own measurements. So Bagger and I walked the course that night, measuring away. Bagger never wrote down a number. He filed it all in his head.
Hit one a little harder. Let's go and do that again. Yeah, but right here is where this game is won. Right here on the green. First you got to see it. Sun gonna be there in the morning. Over there in the afternoon. Funny thing is, the blades of grass gonna follow the sun. The grain is gonna shift. That same putt gonna go one way in the morning, the other in the afternoon. One way in the morning, the other in the afternoon. You see that? Yeah, golf course put folk through quite a punishment. It lives and breathes just like us.
You think Junior can win?
Yeah, if he can find his authentic swing.
Authentic?
Go on, hit one more for me. Yep, inside each and every one of us is one true authentic swing. Something we was born with. Something that's ours and ours alone. Something can't be taught to you or learned. Something that got to be remembered. You know, over time, the world can rob us of that swing. It get buried inside us under all our wouldas and couldas and shouldas. Some folk even forget what their swing was like. Some folk even forget what their swing was like. You keep swinging.
But I don't have any balls.
And don't worry about hitting the ball the way it's gonna go. Just swing the club, feel the club. Come on, close your eyes.
Close my...
Yeah, you can't make that ball go in that hole. You got to let it. I want you to feel the club rolling off your club. Feel the weight of the club. Sailing on the perfect line, dropping into that night, soft as butter. Listen to the sounds of the night. Just keep swinging that club till feel the breeze inside of each and see every one of us is one rustling through the trees, authentic swing. Just keep swinging that club till authentic swing. You're part of the whole thing. Something we was born with. Take a deep breath. That's a good thing. Listen to the sounds of the night.
I don't feel a thing.
Just keep swinging that club till you're a part of the whole thing. That's a good thing. Can you see it? All right, time to go.
So, what is your authentic swing? What do you need to get back to? What is it that will move you forward? So the first question I'd like you to think about, maybe even write down, is what do you love most about your present life in your present career? Take a few moments. What do you love most? Doesn't mean it has to be perfect. What do you love most about your present life in your present career? Just take a few moments and write down some thoughts. Listening to things from other people. So the first step, the first D, if you will, and actually this theory, this framework, comes from a gentleman by the name of David Cooperwriter, this is all drawn from positive psychology, which has really made a big entry into the field of psychology over the last 25, 30 years. The second D, well, let me ask you, thinking about what you love about your life and about your career, how did that feel? I was watching a lot of smiles, you know. Then I saw a lot of smiles when I said, let's share it with someone, you know. And we had a great time, you know. We right here shared it. And I was sharing, you know, we all have impact. My dad used to say to me, remember, you're going to have an impact on everyone you meet. Try to make it positive. Everyone. You walk down the hall, you see someone, how you doing? How about, has that ever happened to you? You're having a little rough day, maybe, you know, it's not working well. Someone says, hey, good morning, how you doing? Don't even know them. And it feels like, oof. Or someone looks at you like, are you in the wrong place? And it impacts you. You know, this is not nuclear physics. But we forget about it sometimes because we get caught up in our own cocoon. So it's that, how do we get back to the swing that we need, the swing that we have? I was trying to learn golf. I just play every once in a while. One of my friends said, he said, one of the things you got to know is, he said, you got to find your natural swing, adjust it, but don't lose it. And how many times we get into things, we get into an occupation, and we lose the person. So the first step is we define, what do we have going for us? This is one question you can ask, what do we have going for us? In an organization, you say, what are the best things that are going on in this organization? What makes me show up to work every day? The second is the discovery. What are the life-giving forces in your life that keep you going? What are those exciting things that may happen? Because again, a lot of us, we bring stuff from the past. Oprah's taught us we all have a story. I'd like to add, but we're the ones now who are in charge of creating the rest of the story. Whatever has happened, we use it as energy to move forward. Let's look at this little clip.
There's never nothing going on if you're looking with a clear mind. Start with the past, Dan. Understand something. There's nothing you can do to change it. The past is completely out of your control. You're up on the rings and you think to yourself, the last time I didn't do so good. The past now has all your attention and concentration. So throw it out. The same with the future. Gee, I really hope I ace my dismount. I really hope Joy and I get together. The future now has your concentration. You see? So throw it out. Take out the trash, Dan. The trash is anything that is keeping you from the only thing that matters. This moment. Here and now. And when you truly are in the here and now, you'll be amazed at what you can do and how well you can do it.
So it's time to take out the trash. Isn't there a song? I was just thinking of that, right? It's time to let it go. So this next exercise is something we call SOAR. You know, sometimes in organizations we talk about strengths and opportunities and negatives and threats and those kinds of things. SOAR is about your strengths, the opportunities in your life, your aspirations. What is it you want to be? And then the results. How do you know when you're getting there? So can you just write down, what can I build on? What are the strengths that you have? And I find that people are much better at coming up with their negatives, their weaknesses, than they are with their strengths. But that's important to have. What are the strengths that you have? What are the things that you can build on? What do you really want? What are the opportunities in life? And dream. This is about, the next step will be about dreaming. What do I care about deeply? And how do I know that I'm successful? How do you know when you're going to get there? Take a few moments to write those down. So let me ask you, how does it feel to soar? Do you like soaring? Yeah. I've been meeting a lot of nursing students from SUNY Broome, from Binghamton University. This is neat. And all of them are excited about being trauma nurses, working in the emergency room. That's neat. We need that. Important. So this is like the energy source. These are the forces. This is the will, the passion we were talking about earlier in that poem. You know, you have an idea and then the passion, the will to make it happen. These are the things that you have to look at every day, think about. In fact, as you're driving to work or whatever in the morning, take a few moments with your prayer, with your meditation, whatever, with your coffee, whatever, and think about it. What are the forces that are going to move me through this day so I can attain the things that I need to be doing, the work I need to be doing? How do I take care of myself? How do I nurture myself? The next stage, if you will, and we're moving through this quickly, but there's a wealth of information on appreciative inquiry, which I would encourage you to read. It's really exciting things that occur with it. The next is dreaming. You know, those dreams. Dreaming about creating it. What is it we want? And not being limited. So many times we try to be realistic. You know, I love when people say to me, well, you know, Fran, that's nice, the things you're talking about, but let me tell you, in the real world, I thought, really? The real world is what you and I create every single day of our lives. Some of us have more challenges, and we have to deal with those. Some of us don't have, you know, if we start comparing challenges, we're in trouble. Because sometimes no matter what it is, as a psychotherapist for 30 years, you know, you hear people have across the board, trauma, all kinds of things. But now is their time to move forward, and that's why they were working with me, and that's why I was blessed to work with them. And so the next step is to think about the dreams. Think about, what do I most hope to contribute through my life, through my career? Take a few moments. So, You're looking at what you want to contribute. All of us have a purpose in life. Some of us are doing it right now. Some of us, it's going to change. I love when you meet people and say, I used to do this, I do this, and it's an evolutionary kind of thing. I remember my dad at the end of his life spent some time at our home. And it was a great time, other than him passing away after like 6 months. It was a great time because I was able to ask him questions that I never asked, as a child. My father was a great guy. He was an immigrant, but, pretty close to the vest. And so I was able to, I knew our time was limited. And so I would spend some time with him. And being a therapist, especially from an Italian family, my father never understood that. He'd go, Mom, why do people come and talk to you? Why don't they go talk to their family? I go, that's why they come and talk to me, because they can't talk to their family. So he didn't really understand it, but we went through life. And so one day, it was probably about 3 days before he passed away, and I thought he was going into a coma. And I was getting him ready for bed and with his teeth and everything. And all of a sudden, he looks at me and he goes, I've been thinking about your work. I go, I'm thinking he's going into a coma and he's thinking about my work. I realized my father was a philosopher and I never really knew that. He was my dad. I didn't see him for who he really was until the end because I had to see him. That was the only time I would see him again. And I said, what do you mean? He says, I never understood what the heck you do in your job. I go, I realized. But he also knew I taught and stuff. He goes, but I've been thinking, everything you do, it's about helping people, right? I said, yeah, whether it's therapy, whether it's education, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. So he says, whatever you're supposed to do it well. That's what this question is about. What is it you want to do well? What is it that you want to really be able to move forward to? And that's why we need to get in touch with the positive energy that we have within all of us and let go and take out the trash sometime of that stuff that gets in our way. Let me demonstrate this to you before we move to our next step. Now, I know we already have a volunteer. Come on up. I need someone to come on up who's really strong and tough and has got a couple of tough arms. And I know this group, I'm watching some of you, and you look like pretty tough hombres. So come on up. I just need one volunteer. Come on up. We're not gonna get on this. Oh yes, she just moved up in life. I love that. Come on down here. We'll move down here. Can I get another volunteer? Someone with a strong arm, 2 arms. You got it? Okay, come on up. Let's hear it for our volunteers. Here we go. Is it Olivia?
Yeah.
I've met Olivia, and we have
Mihala.
Chilla.
Short. Chilla. Like
Chilla.
Cello, Chilla.
Chilla. Oh, I love that. That's great. Okay. Chilla, which arm is your stronger arm?
I think both.
I don't think you need to get in touch with your partner. No, that's good. We'll try your right arm, okay? We'll do your right arm.
Okay.
You mind? Okay, I want you to put your arm out.
Okay.
Put it out straight. Do you mind? I'm going to try to pull it down, okay? But I want you to resist me.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I'm pretty tough. You
Okay.
ready? Okay. Oh, Chilla. You got strength. Okay, very good. Relax. Now, Olivia, would you mind coming over here? I'm going to ask Olivia to hold, if you don't mind, to hold your hand. Okay, just hold your hand. And I've instructed Olivia on a few things, okay? We'll see how this all goes, okay? So, Olivia, you ready? Okay. Number 1. Okay, you ready? Okay, Chilla, if you would put your arm up.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to resist it again. I'm going to try to bring it down. You resist. Okay, I'm going to try to bring it down. You ready? Okay. Ooh, you are strong. Okay, relax. Okay. Olivia, number 2. Got it? Okay. Chilla, would you put your arm up again?
Okay.
I'm going to try to resist. I want you to resist. I'm going to try to bring it down again. Okay? Chilla, let's try this again. Well, you'll never be the same. This is okay.
What did you do? Okay.
And now Olivia, number 3.
Okay.
Well, relax. Yeah, relax. We'll wait till she's ready, and then we'll keep all your strength.
Are you doing some magic?
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Put your arm up. This is the last time now. Now I'm going to try to pull it down. You resist, okay?
My God. It's funny.
Isn't that amazing? Very good. So, number one,
Stronger.
you're stronger.
Yeah, I realized I was even stronger. I did. I really did.
This is great. And I've never met Chilla before in my life, right? And Olivia, you were like amazing. Olivia's a graduate student ready to graduate from Binghamton University. Let's give them both a round of applause. You know each other. So you're a nursing student also, and you're going to be graduating? Wow, so you got to go across stage like this. You know?
I don't know about that, but
Okay. So, obviously, number one, you had a lot of strength.
yeah,
Number two, it went.
yeah.
And number three,
Most like I felt stronger.
yeah. So, Olivia, I told Olivia I wouldn't ask her what made her feel such, but what kind of feelings were we feeling at number one?
Just neutral, like 1 cup of coffee, not too high, not too low, right in the
Okay,
middle.
right in the middle, and Chilla had a lot of energy. Number two,
Bad feelings, negative feelings.
she feels negative feelings, and Chilla loses her energy. And number three,
Positive, happy feelings.
and you had more than ever.
That was excellent.
So here's what we got to ask ourselves. So we know, and in your work, you know that what you do and what you feel and what you say and what you're thinking in that moment has a major impact on your patient. How about in the rest of our life? Are we that person who gives energy, or are we that person that takes that energy? Let's hear it again for them. Thank you so much. You guys are great. I always lose my clicker. So, the last D, or the point we want to think about right now, is really developing innovative ways to create our future. Now you decide, what are you going to do every day? And that may change tomorrow. But look at look at number one. You know, what is it you love about what's going on? What is the life-giving forces that you have in your life? And where is it you want to be? The dreaming. What is it you want to create? And now to commit to yourself, what is it I'm going to do? What am I going to inspire? What am I going to read? What is it going to happen to me to move to that place? Take a few moments to write it, if you will, just to think about it. Innovative ways for you to create your future. So in summarizing what you're doing, let's look at a couple of points to keep in mind, the next steps. Remember, words create worlds. Think about it. Someone says a word or says something, and you'll change the whole image you have of that individual. So the words that you use, tell me about the most empowering thing that's ever happened in your life. Words create worlds. Questions ignite change. Soon as you ask someone to think about the most exciting thing in their life, they start living that again. Right? Maybe as you were going over some of your strengths and some of your aspirations, I spoke to a few folks, and you could see they were already excited about it. That creates the change. And it's not just a technique, it's something of another way of life. It's a paradigm, literally a paradigm shift, to look at the possibilities rather than the other. Looking at opportunities, because then you use that energy to overcome the other. Like, I like to run. How many runners we have in here? Any runners? Okay. How about walkers? We got any walkers? Okay. Bicyclists? How about sitters? We got any sitters in here? Okay. This is the sitters group. Maybe after today we'll do a little bit more. Well, I realize now in my running, I don't know if I run or I hop or whatever, but my objective now is to show up and to finish. To show up. Now, if I said, I used to do a 7.5 and now it's like a 42-hour mile, I wouldn't be able to do it. So show up and finish. I just, you guys are around, you'll have the lights if it's too late, whatever, we'll get there. But that's an important thing to keep in mind. We live into our future. We're not dead yet. Some of us could be walking dead. They got all these movies about zombies. We don't need movies about zombies. Some of us are wonder, what is it I want? Today may be the day. And remember, it's never too late. Never too late. Keep on going. We choose what we study. Where you put your mind is what tends to grow. Where you put your mind is what tends to grow. Positive questions lead to positive change, and wholeness brings out the best. Later, you're going to have people speaking about nutrition. You're going to have all kinds of things. All of that is important. So on your desks, and I know some of you have already done it, would you light up all the lights in the room? Maybe we can turn the lights down, the other lights down a little bit. Wow, there's a lot of light in here. We don't have to worry about them burning out of control. I always like to leave you with something in the end, kind of something that kind of takes you forward. This is a prayer of peace. It's attributed to St. Francis, but it was written in about 1912. So I think it was inspired by him. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And when there is sadness, joy. Grant that I may not so much seek to be counseled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we received, and it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. We thought it was so important that we keep these words in mind that you're going to get a little card for each one of you to have with you. To realize that when we give to others, that all of you are blessed doing, we're really giving to the world. So then we have to take care of ourselves. And it's not selfish, it just keeps us going. It keeps us moving forward. You will also find eventually, I think, as you leave, in your phone, you will have this prayer. And again, it's not to proselytize, but it's really to just have some words for you to kind of reflect on. So as you go about your day, enjoy. Love hearing about the things that you're doing. Hope to meet some of you. Exciting. Thank you so much, and I look forward to our paths again. Thank you.